The Day I Decided to Begin Again. A story by Miwa. My name is Miwa, and this is the story of how I quietly disappeared from my own life and slowly, gently began again. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't a moment of drama or a single event that broke me. It was more like drifting, a slow, invisible fall. I woke up one day and realized I had been moving through my days like a ghost. I would go to work, respond when needed, smile when expected, and come home feeling like I had left pieces of myself somewhere I couldn't remember. At some point, I began to lose interest in things that once made me feel alive. I stopped doing the little things I loved, not because I didn't care anymore, but because I didn't have the energy to care. Everything felt dull. I wasn't unhappy in an obvious way. I wasn't crying or falling apart. I was just tired, deeply tired, in a way that sleep couldn't fix. What made it harder was that no one seemed to notice. I was still functional, still answering texts, still getting things done, but inside, it felt like I had gone silent. There was a night I'll never forget. I was lying in bed, the room completely dark, and for once, there wasn't any noise. No messages, no distractions, just me and the ceiling, and this strange feeling of nothingness. It wasn't panic, it wasn't sadness, it was just a vast emptiness. And then a question came into my mind, quiet but sharp. If nothing changes, will I still want to be here in 5 years? I didn't answer out loud. I didn't need to. I already knew. And that scared me. But that night didn't end with a dramatic decision or a burst of motivation. I just lay there, still. The next morning, though, something changed. It wasn't big, but it was real. I sat on the edge of my bed and didn't rush. I just breathed for a moment. And then I reached into my drawer and pulled out a notebook I hadn't touched in months. I wrote one line, "Miwa, I miss you." That was all. No plans, no big declarations, just an honest sentence. And somehow, that was enough to begin. From that point, I made a quiet promise to myself. Do one small thing each day to come back to life. So that's what I did. Some days I went outside just to feel the air on my face. Some days I sat in silence for 5 minutes and just noticed the sound of my breath. Some days I said no to something that didn't feel right, even if I didn't have a perfect excuse. It wasn't a smooth path. There were days I felt like nothing had changed. But little by little, I started to feel like myself again. Not the old version, a new one, softer, more present, more forgiving. I learned that healing doesn't look like a movie. It's not always beautiful or cinematic. Sometimes healing is making a cup of tea in the quiet. Sometimes it's brushing your hair when you really don't feel like it. Sometimes it's just noticing a feeling and letting it pass without turning it into a story. I learned that loneliness and stillness are not the same thing. I used to fill every moment with noise, thinking that silence was dangerous. But silence turned out to be the place where I could finally hear my own voice. And most importantly, I learned that I didn't need to fix my whole life at once. I just needed to listen to it. The more I slowed down, the more I noticed the parts of me I had been ignoring. After a while, things around me looked the same. Same job, same room, same city. But inside, something was different. I wasn't rushing to be someone better. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was simply choosing, every day, to be a little more honest, a little more kind to myself, a little more alive. And now, looking back, I realize I didn't find myself like a lost object. I returned to myself, like coming home after being away for too long. It was never about changing who I was. It was about remembering who I'd always been underneath the noise. And that's what I hope for you too. Not a dramatic transformation, not a perfect life, but a quiet return to who you are when you stop trying to be everything else. So if you're feeling lost, I want you to know this. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are simply being called back to yourself, and you can begin again, even now, even here. Thank you for listening to my story.